across the council chambers. The faces of the most powerful beings in the galaxy turned ashen. The vessel, in its entirety, was not only human-made, it was unmistakably from Earth. The myth had been shattered. The Council, the elite commanders, the very hearts of galactic power, were left speechless. For the first time in their history, they were facing an undeniable reality. The legends weren't just stories. The humans existed, and they were far more than just a forgotten tale. The ship's signature, though ancient, was undeniable. It was a human vessel. The designs were archaic but still powerful, far beyond what had been believed possible. Every detail of its construction, the towering cannons, the piercing hull, the strange, indomitable energy coursing through it, was human in origin. But nothing in the records prepared the galaxy for the sheer scale and might of the vessel, and certainly no one was prepared for what would come next. Conflict/climax, the humans' arrival. The fear that had settled into the hearts of the council members now transformed into a suffocating tension. Was this a fluke? A single ship or something worse? It wasn't just one. No, more followed, an entire fleet emerging from the void, their dark silhouettes slowly carving their way through the galaxy. The humans had arrived. "Open a channel," the lead commander ordered, voice trembling. A low hum filled the room as communication lines flared to life, a faint static before the transmission cleared. And then, a single human voice, calm, controlled, almost unnervingly confident. "Greetings, Galaxians," the voice said, the tone as cold as the vast expanse of space itself. "We are the Terran fleet. Stand down." The commanders on the council floor couldn't breathe. The message was direct, yet there was an overwhelming sense of superiority, of effortless dominance in every word. The humans were not here to ask questions, to prove anything. They were here to take control, to stake their claim in a galaxy that had long since forgotten them. The fleet stretched across the void, stars glinting off their dark hulls, the very ships themselves like vast titans in the dark. With ease, they adjusted their formations, their precision unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Impossible," a council member whispered, shaking his head in disbelief. The humans didn't just arrive, they dominated. They didn't need to fight, they didn't need to prove their strength. Their very presence rewrote the balance of the galaxy. The once proud, untouchable empires now quivered before the weight of human history, ancient, forgotten, yet still alive. Resolution, the aftermath. In the days that followed, the galaxy buzzed with whispers. The myths, once dismissed, were now undeniable truths. No one knew how it had happened or how these humans, once thought to be nothing more than a fleeting memory, had returned. The council members found themselves no longer the supreme rulers, but humble students of a long-lost species. The once insurmountable barriers of time, space, and myth had been shattered, and the human vessels, still massive and unyielding, remained at the galactic gate, a reminder to all that some legends were far more than stories. The humans were back, and the galaxy would never be the same. In the deep corners of the galaxy, in the hushed halls of power, the chilling truth spread like wildfire. The myths were real. The myth of Earth dismissed. The council chamber shook with laughter. Not from an explosion, not from anger. No, from mockery. The idea that humans ever existed had once again been brought forward by some junior archivist, and the warlords of the Threxian Dominion could not help themselves. "Humans?" one admiral snorted, his scaled lips curling. "The ghost race, the story children whisper to frighten themselves, legends of a lost species that mastered the stars and vanished before our kind ever drew breath, nothing more than campfire tales." They nodded, smug and secure in their belief. In the academies of the Dominion, Earth was a byword for folly, used in lectures to describe how myths poisoned logic. The very word human had become shorthand for impossible strength, impossible cunning, impossible victory. And in the minds of the proud galactic powers, what was impossible did not exist. Why fear a phantom? Why waste thought on shadows when empires ruled the void, with fleets numbering in the thousands? So they laughed, these rulers of the galaxy, and the story of humankind remained sealed in dusty records, mocked by every scholar bold enough to mention it. Until the signal came. The ghost at the edge. It started as nothing, just static. A faint pulse echoing in the cold silence beyond the Dominion's border posts. It carried no language, no pattern, nothing to suggest intelligence. At first it was ignored, classified as stellar interference. But then the pattern repeated. A rhythm. A cadence not born of nature. Border ships triangulated the origin point, a sector long abandoned, marked in archives as a dead zone. Ancient wrecks floated there, broken hulls left from wars long forgotten. No civilization claimed it, no patrols entered it, nothing lived there. But the signal pulsed on. Boom, pause, boom, pause, boom. The commander of the border garrison sneered when reports crossed his desk. A ghost signal, he declared. Artifacts bouncing off debris. Send a corvette, confirm and silence this nonsense. The corvette went. It never returned. At first, excuses were made. A reactor failure, perhaps. An engine implosion. But when the second ship sent after it vanished in the same silence, the laughter that once filled the halls of the Dominion thinned into uneasy whispers. The archives were opened once more. Against the protests of many, forbidden pages were read aloud in council chambers. Stories of a species that had defied extinction again and again, whose vessels bore a distinct pulse in their signal, like a heartbeat stretched across the stars. The old word surfaced. Humans. And for the first time in centuries, the word did not bring laughter. It brought silence. The vessel at the gate. When the Dominion's high fleet finally arrived at the sector, they did not come laughing. They came in force, 30 warships, dreadnoughts among them bristling with weapons. Confidence, yes, but now sharpened by unease. Scanners swept the void. Debris floated like skeletal remains of battles long past. The ghost signal was stronger here, steady, unwavering. Then out of the darkness came a shadow. A ship. Not Dominion, not any empires they knew. Its hull was scarred but intact, forged of alloys that did not match known designs. No transponder codes, no diplomatic signals, no plea for recognition. Just the steady, pounding signal. Boom, pause, boom. The fleet locked weapons. Warnings were broadcast. Yet the vessel did not answer. It simply moved, slow and deliberate, toward the Dominion blockade as if the warships were insects scattered before its path. Admirals cursed. Orders screamed across the command channels. 100 targeting systems painted the lone vessel. And then, just as the first weapons were primed, it spoke. Not in words of the Dominion, not in any galactic tongue, but in a transmission that shivered through every frequency, laced with an ancient code buried in their archives. The translation came slowly, almost painfully, as if time itself strained to make the message known. This is the UNS Resolute. Humanity endures. The counselors who had mocked the myth fell silent. The admirals who once laughed at the word Earth sat frozen at their stations. The signal was not a ghost. It was not interference. It was real. The shattering of certainty. The Dominion fleet fired. They had to. Pride demanded it. If this was some trick, some desperate survivor masquerading as the phantom of humanity, then overwhelming force would shatter the lie. Missiles streaked across the